Hey, good morning, and welcome everybody to this post-Thanksgiving edition, U.S. Thanksgiving, of the Dev Talk Show on November 28th, 2025. And I guess let's see, I probably will get this wrong, but right over there
Nice.
is Rich Ross, and I'm Chris Gomez, and welcome everybody. So how's it going, Rich?
Doing well, Chris. Great. Doing well. Good couple days off. So happy to spend the morning. Today's gonna be a busy day. Spend the morning just catching up and talking about some cool things in VS Code. And yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah. So it's not a work day for many folks in the US and not for us as well. I mean, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but so we were going to talk today about it's a little bit of a personal question that is turning into an episode, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one of the new features that I see in Visual Studio Code, and it's sitting in the lower left-hand corner. You can add MCP servers, model context protocol servers, and then people say, well, what are those? And they're the best way I guess I could describe them in a short amount of time and probably not get it 100% right is they're servers that AI agents can use. They can call them and use tools to perform actions for you. And that's what enables things like when you're sitting in Visual Studio Code and you say, hey, I want to work on this feature. Can you create an issue for me in the repo? Then it says, oh, I can reach out to the MCP server for GitHub,
Right.
with your permission and everything enabled, everything connected with your permission, and do that for you. One of the first ones I became familiar with was the Microsoft Learn. Well, that was actually the first one I became familiar with because I think here on this show, we were using it to look at pull requests, create pull requests, add issues, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never seen anything like that before. I'd even missed the demos. I was just going like, this is interesting. And one of the first ones that came to my attention was the MCP server for Microsoft Learn, which I suppose what it is doing is where the large language models might be picking up like the internet at large, including content on Learn. That content could become outdated. So I think what the Learn MCP server is doing is saying, if you reach out to me along with your whatever else you're doing, you can get more up-to-date answers. Like .NET 10 just came out. So boom, what things that have changed could be part of your answers and part of your actions. So I found this all very interesting. I added that one.
Okay.
And then here's where it got interesting for me and where Rich is going to help us out today. I didn't feel like I'd done a whole lot of adding and subtracting MCP servers. Right. And Visual Studio Code tells me, you have more than 128 tools, and you really shouldn't have more. Like, it didn't blow up. It didn't say, it just said cannot have more than 128 tools per request. And what I don't know if I remember in the message or anything is if it was saying like, I'm going to arbitrarily cut off at some point and not interrogate any more of them. I don't remember. But actually, I said to myself, how did I get there? I didn't do anything.
Right. Well, so a little bit of context. When we think about MCP tools only come into play when you're doing something with an agent, because those tools are the capabilities that an agent has to fulfill your request. So because of that, if you're in ask mode or if you're in edit mode, which are the two other, and plan mode. Well, plan mode, I'm not so sure about. I haven't tried that, but I know definitely with ask and edit, the MCP doesn't come into play because there's no tooling essentially available around that. Or if you have your own custom agent, like we were trying to do with the TDD coach that we did a couple weeks ago, right? That's an agent essentially. And if you remember, we could bring that up and show it. That agent has a block in there that says, well, what tools can I access as an agent? So minding less about what's in that drop-down list that you have up top versus what you might direct it to do. So a couple of things we can look at. Oh, is that?
Hold on. That's not your screen.
I was going to say, that's still not my screen.
No, it's still not. I was just saying while you were talking about it, I was going to highlight this.
Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think you do get, it's kind of a funny error, at least it was. It didn't really point you in the direction that tools were the issue. It's just that you get some kind of a Copilot error. I think it might have gotten better now in saying that you have too many tools. But why is that important? Well, think about what you're doing. You're asking Copilot to do something, whether it's create an issue or go look up this bit of documentation or whatever it might be. And it's saying, well, do I know anything about this? And if so, where would it, where am I getting this information from? And that's what the MCP tools gives it. So these tools are all the things it possibly could do. Each one of them has a description. So if you're looking up information from our Learn documentation, right, there's a description inside of there that says, that basically the agent, when it goes and takes your request, picks out what tool it wants to use. Well, the problem is that when you give it more than 128 tools, it becomes harder and harder for it to choose the right tool and have so much of that information in the memory of what it's going through. So that's why kind of limiting it to something that seems reasonable until you go over that limit. But it's that's a lot of tools to be able to parse through. Some things happen locally inside of VS Code. Some things happen in if you're talking out to GitHub, like you said, or talking out to Learn documentation, right? All of those are different places, and they're contextually very different things you might be asking it to do. So it can choose those with better performance than something that might do something very similar, like check this source for documentation or check this source for documentation, right? That might be something that, well, which source is it? How do I find out which source is the one that has the information I'm interested in? So that's why the tool limit is kind of there. And I think there's also some limiting on the agent side as it gets that information about how many it can actually handle. And 128 seemed to be a good cutoff, at least when we were doing this, when this all kind of started. So, which isn't that long ago. The MCP protocol, and this is kind of interesting, really only started or became public in November of last year. So we're just about we're in the year time frame of when that came public. And all of this enthusiasm around having agents be able to do things with these tools it's just taken off, over the last 8 or 9 months or so, probably since that February, March timeframe. So a little bit of background, a little bit of pieces around where we are. So you're looking at, when I look at my screen, we're still looking at your screen. So you have questions around anything you kind of said there?
No, like I said, I get what you're saying about how. So first of all, the clarification there that like the MCP servers come into play. MCP servers come into play on agents. So like, in fact, I opened up Visual Studio Code just to kind of show how it looks on my machine, which isn't going to be like everybody else's machine. And I apparently have installed, well, this one, Microsoft Docs.mcp, I think is the one that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Learn one, I believe.
Yep.
I wonder if this came with it, like meaning maybe this gets installed with Visual Studio Code. I don't remember.
I don't know. That doesn't look familiar.
And there must have been some other reason that that MCP server. I don't even know for sure what it is, but I'm guessing I can find out. So, model context protocol server that provides tools for time queries and time zone conversions. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember how that got in there, and it's fine. It doesn't matter to me so much. It was that when you come over, so like, I just have some code here, and I'm not actually planning. I don't care so much. This tools, configure tools, is what I, have noticed is you click here, and then you get the whole list.
Yeah.
And as you can see, I've already gone through and unchecked some, but what happened is because these things were just being added,
mm-hmm.
It eventually, this number was must have been over 128, and it said, hey, you don't need all of these, or not that you don't need all of these. It's that you shouldn't have so many selected, which maybe is what I've done now. No, it says 82. So, okay.
Well, a lot of that, I think it's so there are some built-in commands, right? So if you look at the built-in one, that kind of gives you a lot of things that it's doing against your open set of files around running commands or running notebooks or running tasks, right? So all of those things inside of there, that's a little over a quarter of them at 37.
Okay.
And then
there were 37, or did it show that on my screen somewhere?
So I'm kind of doing the same thing you are. If I check all of the built-ins, and only the built-ins,
then okay, that's how you saw it. I gotcha.
So it tells you kind of what's there. So
I see.
You could say, well, if you look at that list and there are notebooks, right?
Yep.
You could say, well, I'm not working on a project that's got notebooks, so let's get rid of that. That's not going to happen. Or anything that's related to test failures or whatever, right? So you can turn things off. Right. And what's great is those settings persist with your persona or your profile. So profiles are really important because you can say, well, I'm doing .NET development, and because of that, here are the tools I want to make sure that I keep. Or I'm in infrastructure mode, right? I'm just doing the infrastructure as code portion of this. So I'm not really developing stuff. I'm just writing Terraform scripts or whatever kind of scripts to deploy. So you might highlight different tools because of that.
Okay.
But that's very similar to what agent gives you as well, right? You could create an infrastructure as code agent and talk about all the things that it should be doing. So there's, like with many of these products, there's a number of different ways of doing those things.
Okay. All right.
That's interesting.
So what do I... So you said something about profiles.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something that's easier for you to show? Because...
Only because I've got your screen on the camera in front of me, and it's a really small screen from where I am. But we can certainly walk through it. So if you do the Visual Studio Code logo, which on it's at the bottom of your rail there on the left.
Oh, this?
Up one?
Sorry.
That's okay. Down. Yep, right there. And you have profiles.
Oh, okay.
So you have a default profile. So each profile has a different set of extensions you can install, a different set of MCPs that you can install, right? All of those things that make VS Code specific to a profile, what a profile you might expect, right? So that's why I have one that's like a .NET profile. So it's got my C# extension, it's got my REST extensions, it's got the MCP servers that I want to include as well. So that's one way of managing it, right? So now you can switch in between profiles depending on what you're working on.
Okay, I see. All right. Yeah, because I didn't understand if I was sort of doomed to click, to always have to go up there and see what is it that I'm using right now, and then stop and say, well, because I understand kind of the concept is that if you can see that I have certain extensions installed that added things like, for example, clearly, like I have some Mermaid extensions installed, and so it must have installed a server to help. I don't know if it's, I mean, what does it say it's doing? Syntax documentation, and then a validation, and okay, and preview. All right. So the extension brought it in and checked it, and I'm not using it right now. So I thought maybe I was partially doomed to always having to manage this.
Right.
And I hear what you're saying is that you could manage in a concept of a profile to say, well, here in this particular instance, I only need these, and doing something else, I only need those. Okay.
Yeah. And part of it is, and I'm still trying to because it's not always the same thing. So that Mermaid um, MCP, that connection to it lives somewhere. Now, there's a couple different places where that could live, right? You have the extensions, and there's a section now in the extensions for the MCP server, so you can see what's installed. There is also your there's the workspace that you're in, and that can have MCP components installed. So if you were to, from the tooling there, do the little MCP logo at the top. Sorry, I confused things. So you're in the left rail where the extensions are.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll see, and you can sort this by basically just jumping into the top text box and type in MCP, and then that'll give you, that'll focus the, it might even be at MCP, sorry.
Oh, you know what? I think I have seen that before. Okay. Browse and install directly from VS Code. I've seen this.
Yeah.
I never clicked this button though. So
good for you. And that's one of the ways to get it. The other is if you look at the toolbar that you've got, or the command palette up top in the center, and see how it's got that MCP logo just to the right of that.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
So this is how you would bring in, if you're running one locally, because you can do that as well. You can create your own MCP server and run it locally, or you can have a URL to a public one, like the GitHub one. Instead of going through the extension, you could bring it in here manually. But then that lives inside of either, I believe it's like the settings, the VS Code settings file for that project, or I'm sorry, there's an MCP settings file for that project, or it lives under your, possibly your personal profile. Or actually the profile that you're running under, because that also has a collection of MCPs. I think, let me see here, settings.
I wasn't aware of this marketplace here.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's, I mean, you can see how many different offerings that are possible there.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of this at all. And probably because somehow I had stumbled on that button to enable the marketplace and I just didn't do anything with it. But some of these, I think, what's interesting that it says GitHub. I think maybe the one that we saw out there was installed by GitKraken.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the MCP, extensions and MCP servers that are out there. You want to make sure that you've got some way of, if you're going to do something that goes against a repository or some important data, you want to make sure it's the one that comes from the organization that owns that.
Interesting. Look at this. Okay, yeah, I had no idea. All right, so let's see if I clear this. Now I'm getting the whole extension view, but not the server view, I think.
Well, down in that bottom section is your server.
Right?
You've got your MCP servers there.
Oh, the servers that I have, sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I get it now. I get it. That I could see what has updates. Okay, fine. All right. But yes, these are the ones that are installed. So this means that I actually proactively added this server to VS Code, which is different from an extension adding support for tools.
Yes.
Because as we saw when I open the tools, there's things that are, like, and I wonder if this means this is running locally. I don't know. Maybe not. It's got the MCP server logo. I suppose if I click on this, I wonder if it'll tell me. Okay, so it is saying bundled with GitKraken, bundled with GitLens. Okay, so if you put in the GitLens if you use the GitLens extension, it bundles this MCP server. But what I'm curious about is because you mentioned something about them running locally, is now I'm wondering, how do I know where this is running at? These servers that are in the
yeah. So you know how you can know?
okay.
So right where you go back where you were,
Okay.
and see how in the configuration it has a type.
Oh, okay.
So there
Yeah,
are
look at that.
there
Okay.
are 3 with one of them being deprecated. So the first one there, STDIO, which is standard input output. So that's one that would be running locally. So
Yeah.
you have some code that's running on your machine as part of that extension that's gonna do that interaction with you. Now the HTTP one means it lives outside of your machine, and has a common endpoint that everybody can talk to, essentially.
So now when I go to the tools and I pick this one and it says, okay, here's settings, MCP servers, and it says this, but it doesn't tell me where. That's okay. I just didn't know if that was available to us.
If it comes with the, well, that's not true. It may be coming with the extension for a different reason. So, more answers, but only trying to follow Alan's comment here. Unless it was a while ago, so it's probably to something else. Sorry.
I don't know if it's super important to figure that out right now, but it is interesting that, like, if I head over to the Git Kraken documentation,
right,
they're talking about this. They're saying you can install the Git Kraken MCP server through GitLens or the Git Kraken CLI. And so basically what they're saying is if you, which I have, if you've installed the GitLens, I believe what I'm reading here is, if you've installed the GitLens extension, then we've done it for you. We bundled it in. You don't have to do anything.
yeah,
And then you can even locate it, which we've done. Located the Git Kraken one, and I suppose I'm not sure what kind of tools it has, but I guess it'll tell us.
yeah. Are you when you're yeah? Are you authenticated to Git Kraken? Like, do you have an account with them? And is
I do.
And is your extension tied to that account?
I don't know. But yeah, I can see all these tools here, and it'll say, okay, so this enables the agents to basically use Git, essentially.
Yeah. If you click the gear at the end of that Git Kraken, where does that take you?
To this. This is what.
This. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is what I was looking to. All right.
I mean, look, it just added a bunch of stuff here.
Right.
Probably because I haven't activated this extension by really clicking on this. And so now it's providing a walkthrough. As far as connecting the account, I guess maybe, okay, this is if I can integrate, I can go further and integrate with GitHub, integrate with Jira, integrate with issue trackers. All right. And then, yes, I actually don't know. So the thing about me is the reason why I probably haven't paid as much attention to this is that while I may occasionally bring up, because GitLens used to be a separate, I feel like Git Kraken acquired GitLens, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
That I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like GitLens was a very early Visual Studio extension that was and so I might, while I may use it to see a graph really quickly, I think people who've watched this show know that I will go out to command line to do my actual Git work. So I'm not as familiar with the extension, but I could see an agent being helpful. So, okay. All right. Now, and I didn't even realize this was like when I clicked on this, I didn't realize this was all going to come up. But it looks like it's trying to teach me how to more effectively use. And it's even talking about the Git Kraken MCP. And I'm pretty sure if I click here, I'm going to end up at the exact same piece of documentation that I was at before.
That it's confirming.
Yeah. And then, okay, so it's going through and saying, this is kind of nice, I suppose, but I could switch to another branch very quickly here. So open the repository on GitHub, view pull requests. Do you want code to open? All right, and so now it's wanting to integrate with GitHub. So I could make that choice here. And it's interesting.
So things on your behalf there.
Yeah, I see. Already have an account. So I'm going to sign into that off screen, but because I don't know what's going to happen there, because I do have a Git Kraken Pro account. I mean, I use the product a ton, number one, and number two, there was a lot of times when I would use it visually in presentations about Git, and so I figured, well, I might as well subscribe to Pro. Okay, so what's interesting here is, oh, I accidentally did the wrong thing. All right, so it automatically logged me in there by basically saying, so I guess if you have a Git Kraken Pro account, you automatically have GitLens Pro, which kind of makes sense, but I wasn't sure. So now apparently I have access to more features, but I'm just not, I'm not sure what they all are yet. So, all right. That's interesting. That's talking more about an extension and less about an MCP server. I suppose if I was working on something, I could say, in fact, I guess I could do this. I'm just going to give this a try here. Is I could go to the agent, I guess, and say, might be a little hard to read right now, but I'm interested in checking out the code for the 2.0.0 release. I wonder if it's going to pick this up. Oh, of course, did I leave it checked off? I don't remember. I hope not.
You can see the list of servers it's trying to start there.
Okay, so no, this is here. Oh, I forgot that froze it.
And you can open the two references so you can see what files did it actually try and bring in.
Okay.
So these are your instructions, so your tool instructions that you can define yourself, and then the Azure instructions. Looks like you have one created for doing Azure work as well. So those are both under your personal user account as opposed to the workspace. So think of the workspace almost like your collection of files for a given project. So as you back in and out of workspaces, those will stay with you because it's your persona, your user who you're accessing this whatever workspace with. And you can click on those and see what's in there, so you can get a sense of what those tools give me. So this is it's actually the AI toolkit and AI agent app development. So when you install that, that should be, there is an AI toolkit extension. So I'm guessing that's where it came from.
Yeah, Right.
And then the other one is just Azure best practices. And you could see the applies to there in the front matter.
Yeah. And it's saying everything or
Yeah.
all requests, I guess.
Yes.
So yeah, it's saying that it'll run git checkout for me, which is very kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. I suppose I'm now on a different branch. I guess not that I can really tell what's in the code. However, it looks like maybe back then they didn't have some of these files. So I kind of wish I knew how to see the history view. Oh, here we go. Opening commit graph. Oh, is this really down here now? Oh, I gotta.
Should be. Well, I'm guessing you might be able to drag it around.
I could probably move it.
Yeah.
So right here, no, it's in the right spot. Okay, here's the tag 2.00, and then it's a little ways back because here's current state. So yeah, I mean, it does what it said it would do. It's kind of nice. I could have probably asked a more involved question, like maybe can you find when something was added to the repository without knowing an exact branch? Like that's a pretty basic thing, but I can see an instance where I say, I'm not sure where we did something, and so you kind of ask it to help figure it out, going through commits and stuff, and it probably can say, okay, here's where this was. In fact, I'm going to try that real quick. So I said, can you find the commit where the license file was added to the repository? I hit enter, but I wonder if I had to click something else. Oh no, it's thinking. At least I think it's thinking. I don't know if it's doing anything. Unable to start successfully. Okay. But that was a different server. And then this says it's canceling. Oh, is that because I'm still in the middle of this?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So is that just like a confirmation that, okay, so it's checked it out, fine. And now here I can say, can you find the commit where the license file was added?
So it still wants the permissions to run the allow. And you can, if you do the drop down, you can say for this session or this workspace, enable auto approve. I would not do that. That drop down, I don't know if it's for this extension or not. It had multiple settings in there. So you could say, hey, for this session while we're talking, that's fine.
Yeah. So I actually think that's interesting, right? The license file was added in a specific commit.
Yeah.
So, okay. Like I can see some use there. I think it's interesting that it's like, well, here, I'll just look through the log, but then, this is a smaller repository that doesn't have as big of a, some of the things you work in could have been going on for years and years and years. If I remember correctly, the graph here it's not huge, which is cool. Like that's a good thing. But where's that first commit 9 years ago? Look at that.
Wow.
So yeah. So okay. So I was confused at first as to how did these all get here, but I think we've cleared that up by basically saying we can tell that installing Git Kraken added this. Certainly many of the extensions that I've added recently, like I know we've been working in Mermaid, so this one's added, and I brought in SQL Server support, and I think I have Python installed. So that all makes a lot of sense. This is, I guess, telling me that I've got one or two of these. Okay. All right. That's what the little dash, I think, is saying. And the AI toolkit came from what we just did recently
at
Philly.net. So, And now here I am at the 123 selected. So it didn't take much.
No, it doesn't.
And
and that's the thing. There's a lot of capabilities for, subtools or individual tools inside of a server connection. So you can, as we saw, turn them off and on. But I think the important bit is what you've got there. See how we've got the logos at the beginning, and that kind of helps you understand, well, how did this get here, right?
That wasn't what I was trying to do. Okay, yeah. So you mentioned the logos. So these tell us that they're servers. These tell us they're from extensions, and then built into VS Code. Okay, cool. And I think I was trying to, for some reason it's not able to access this, which I guess is fine. I don't remember. Start server. Huh. Okay. I don't even know for sure 100% where or how I ended up with this. But it's having trouble starting it now. So that explains why it can't use the tools from it. So, and then this one.
I mean, it may be registered there, and it's in
right.
STDIO, so it's a local one. So if you no longer have it, or that was on a different machine with a different persona, or where that persona was synchronized, then it just may not have a reference, or may not be able to see it.
Okay, but the key here is that, like, I'm over. So if I click OK, is it going to complain to me? No, it's still talking about how it's struggling with that one.
Right. So, I mean, you would have to. So on the left panel where that server is, you would have to uninstall it, or I don't know if you can disable it, but certainly uninstall would do it. So now it's no longer complaining.
Well, okay. So I think it's nice that at least I was a little concerned clicking uninstall, it would just disappear. But I think all that really did is modify. We saw there's a JSON file that controls this, and it looks like it just modified it. It's probably to turn it off. And so now I don't have to worry about that. And I have 123 selected. Maybe I don't need bicep right now. So now I'm right at 119. But yeah, it fills up really fast here. Just even the Azure one, which maybe I don't need. And so that dropped quite a bit. I'm not working with containers right now, I think. Is that what this is about? So I could drop, and then I could say, okay. And there isn't any more complaining down here in the lower right. Okay. All right. I mean, I know you had your, like, we were all set to go to your screen too, if there's something you want to show on this.
I just think there's some, we can show a couple things here. So let me, whenever you're ready, we can do that. And I'm going to blind everybody by going to a light theme.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of bright for the morning here, right? So I think this was cool. I was kind of playing around with this a little bit. So this is the agent coach that we were working on.
Yeah.
And what's cool here is you see the tools, and we've got some tools that say, hey, we're going to run tests. We'll bring that in a little too much. Bring that in a little bit. So we can add different tools to this. And one cool way of doing that is, because we're in this particular mode here, and if I go to the toolbox, you're going to see nothing is really checked here except for this run test, right? What I could do is I could certainly go in and say, let's say I also want to have the ability to edit. So let's get rid of this. And I believe the syntax is that, and then edit. Right. So I could add tests individually that way, but because I'm in the coaching mode and I've got this toolbox open, I can basically say, well, we're going to give you access to not only the testing, but being able to make the modifications you might need to for that particular space. And when I do that and say, okay, it now has and populates all of those into the agent. So this becomes that filtering mechanism of, well, what you have all these MCP tools available. what are the ones that when I'm in this particular mode, are we going to be able to access?
Okay.
So if I was to go to not this mode and just go to regular old agent mode, I could, you see I have more of them selected because agent mode has these kind of, the way I've got it configured, they're preset to use these here.
So is that based on the VS Code profile we were looking at earlier when you're in agent mode? And then because you're creating new, they used to be called chat modes, but I think they're called agents. Is that right?
Yes, custom agents now.
Yeah. Okay.
Custom modes, right?
Right. So because you have two, you have new ones. You have TDD Coach and AI Agent Expert, and we've looked at those before.
Yeah.
I think I want to just restate what you're saying and see if I have this correct. Is when you select TDD Coach, Visual Studio Code is it changing the selected tools? Maybe you didn't have run notebooks in your checklist, and now it's like, oh well, I require it. So
yeah, when that agent runs, it's this front matter part here has not only a description of what this agent does, but also the tools available to it. And then, here, I could just do configure tools, and that brings up the same window that lets me modify what I need, right? So that's
I guess what I was wondering is if just by activating the coach, does it manipulate the active tools or not?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So it will change based on what's here. So if I was to say here something like right, so it should come back and say no because it doesn't have access to the repo, right? Declining to create issue but offering guidance, right? And this is how I can't do it, but these are the steps you need to go ahead and do it. Now, if I go ahead and do this, let's see, this should work. So I do this and I say, oh, sorry, I didn't hit OK. Now that I hit OK, let's try it once more. Huh. Because it's got the GitHub repo now. What did I do?
So one of them, one of them was squiggly up there. When you see how, is that trying to say, oh no, I was wondering what the unknown tool, interesting. Is that because it wasn't checked or?
Let's see. Unknown tool service. That is because it's here, right? That's the appropriate GitHub repo or GitHub MCP.
Right.
See, that's weird because it's not staying checked.
Okay. So it's not staying checked, but is the squiggly trying to say that we have the naming for GitHub tools wrong?
I think so.
And then is it because they changed it on us? In fact, it's gone. Like, where did it go? Oh, sorry, you're on the TDD Coach.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's where we wanted it. We wanted to be able to basically say, okay, go ahead and check this. Say okay.
Oh, right. There it is. Yeah. Okay. It's trying to add it in there. All right. I see how it's connected. And it's nice that it's like a two-way street. You go check boxes up there and it puts it into your front matter.
Yeah.
For this coach. Okay. Okay.
All right. So let's do this because obviously I've got that wrong. If I get out of this mode and I go to agent mode, and I say GitHub Copilot for Azure, and I still don't have this. This is a problem. Oh, let's start it. It's running. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, look at that. I saw a lot of MCP servers in there that really surprised. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. It's the support is impressive. Like when you were doing the at MCP, when you had me do that in the search extensions,
Hmm.
I saw like a Postman one, I saw a Dynatrace one,
Yeah.
I saw. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, maybe I'm not, and I'm going to pick on myself. Maybe I'm not as familiar with uh an enterprise tool like Dynatrace as I'd like to be, and I find myself stumbling around trying to figure out how to even get to a chart or a workflow or anything. Okay, it feels like the agent could help me find what I'm looking for and then maybe help me learn how to do things on my own later.
Right.
Because here I was using the Git based one, and it's like Git is like, Git is super easy for me.
Mhm.
So not that I don't appreciate the help of an agent, it all seemed very basic to me. Where okay, um, or even Postman. Postman's a super popular um, API testing and exploring tool, but where I found a lot of power in it was some of its scripting.
Right.
And sometimes figuring out how to script it is not the easiest thing, just because the documentation. Um, Sometimes when you search for answers, you get old documentation. You get the way things used to work.
Right.
Um, at least I have, and so
Sure. Sure.
maybe that MCP server would be. So it's interesting now. It's almost like you could craft yourself a set of coaches to either help with what you're doing at work or maybe on your own, the kinds of tools or products that you use. Obviously, we're familiar with the AI toolkit
Hmm.
extension, because we use that at Philly.net, and then and there's a big Azure MCP server that is definitely sounds like, because one thing I'm always trying to do is I'm always trying to not just simply use Azure when we do things on the show, is say, I want this scripted from day one, right?
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with using the portal to learn, but I've got to get it to where it's scripted and repeatable very quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can't live in a space where you're going to ask somebody to go click a few checkboxes, because then, and whether that's bicep or whether it's um, what used to be my favorite, right? That just doing things in the Azure CLI, which is probably my stubbornness more than anything. It's nice to know, because I've had it. I've had the agent. I've actually, I didn't realize that's what was happening, but I have asked in agent mode, I have this resource group. Can you build the script that would rebuild this resource group from scratch? And it's like, yeah, here you go. And I'm probably now thinking about it, because like you said, you can look at what references are used. I could have probably
Right.
clicked there and seen that it was probably using an Azure MCP to get that answer, maybe, or maybe it was using documentation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I- So going back to, I think, where you were when we were talking about the Git one, and yeah, we can go to the command line and do that on our own. Think about it not being you who needs to do it, but think
sure.
about it being the agent that needs to do it. So you might, as part of your instructions, say, okay, we're going to iterate on this thing, and as we go through and complete a step, or because oftentimes it'll create a task list, you create something in the task, go and do a git commit on
Mm,
the things that got changed, and now you have a place to fall back to as you're iterating through things with the agent. So it's not that you're doing it; it's the agent is automatically doing it for you because it has access now.
okay. So as part of your original prompt is create a branch, and as we work through this, commit each one with what you did. And part of it is so that you could go back later and have a pretty nice trail of breadcrumbs. Or, I mean, they're way better than breadcrumbs. You know, I always thought I wrote pretty good git commit messages, but um, they're very thorough when they come from an AI agent, and I
Right.
guess that's good, right? It's not.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe as developers, especially if you have a little bit of gray hair, we're used to writing using older tools before even Git came out, that you just write like a simple small declaration of what you did if you even did that, I mean, believe me, there were plenty of code bases where it was just commit, added file. It was just
Right.
add, updated code. So in some respects, it's nice that I hate to say that maybe I've never been disciplined enough. Although like I said, I feel like I write pretty good commit messages, and then I compare it to what the agents will do, and I go, well, yeah, as long as it's not putting something in there that maybe shouldn't be out in the public, if it was like a GitHub repo.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, what's wrong with this?
Right.
So it feels weird though. It feels weird saying, I know how to open pull requests. I know how to create issues. I know how to write. I know how to use Git. Do I really need it's really hard not to feel like, well, I shouldn't use this because it's a crutch, when it's like, well, is it really that, or is it just going to be more thorough than I am?
I think I don't know about thorough, but I think if it becomes, I mean, if it becomes one of those things that, because I think there always needs to be the human in the loop, right? So thoroughness is, I think that scenario that I was walking through kind of gives you that protection. If it goes down a bad path, you've got a way of getting back. And it's not that, while that is, while it might be I don't think of it as a crutch as for the agent to go ahead and do that, because the agent, sometimes you want to go ahead and send it off in the background, because you can certainly open multiple chat windows. You can have two chat windows open at the same time, and one could be because of and I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Let me bring this back up. This one. Hey, I'm getting used to it. All right. So because you've got this capability down here, zoom in on. Nope, sorry, apologize. So down here you have two ways to check. You can say send, which is basically going to send it to the chat, or delegate to an agent. So if I was to say, try that command again, which unfortunately is not working, and I'm not sure why, because I've signed out and signed back in, but I could basically delegate that to an agent. So it goes off, and it's not that you wouldn't necessarily be there to make sure that it goes through and does those things for you, whatever it is that it is, whether it's looking at documentation or doing the Git commit as it goes through the various tasks. So yeah, it's kind of, it definitely is a different way of developing, but I think it's a way that gives you the flexibility to send things that might feel a little repetitious or what have you, that are, that an agent can kind of iterate on. You can start going down that path.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, so what I learned today is I learned that when Visual Studio Code tells me that I have more than the 128 tools installed, I can either click on the tools, that there's a whole section of MCP servers to look at in Visual Studio Code, that you can search through what's installed in the extensions portion just by doing the @MCP. And I didn't realize just how many MCP servers are sitting in that marketplace. So enable that marketplace, because I never did. I would see that the @MCP would come up and it would be like, oh, enable the MCP marketplace. And I'm like, I'll do it some other time, because I'm like one of those people where Visual Studio Code, like, it's enable this, enable that, click here, click there. And I go, oh, you know what? I don't want so much stuff in my way. So I didn't do it. And then here it is. Here's this huge marketplace of things. And that if I use profiles, one way to manage what is checked and what isn't is to use profiles in Visual Studio Code. But another way is to start creating agents, custom agents, which we looked at on a previous show, and they used to be called chat modes, but it looks like the documentation is all getting updated, or has been updated. And now the custom agent itself will be kind of a way for you to switch back and forth what you're talking about. We did have a couple, like Alan was here, and Alan's probably seen that. I've noticed this on YouTube, that it seems that YouTube is making a transition to these user handles over whatever you've typed in for your name, because there can be a million people who say their name is Chris Gomez, because there are. But what I'm seeing in a lot of the chats now is it's using the @ handle in more and more of them. It was a weird transition. I feel like maybe, I don't know if it's something that's being rolled out, because I've slowly but surely noticed it going that way. But anyways, yeah. So I appreciate Alan joining us, because he's definitely been a regular on a lot of these. And we also had Mark Tomlinson here, who I happen to know. So I appreciate you joining and watching with us on this holiday Friday. And even said a little bit about Dynatrace just for you. So hopefully that was, hopefully he noticed that. But anyways, so I'm being very open and transparent about this, because I think there are a lot of people doing this, asking themselves the same questions. Mm-hmm. I am cautiously and optimistically adding use of that right chat panel, the GitHub. At first, I just thought of it as the GitHub Copilot chat panel, right?
Right.
It happens to be in the Visual Studio IDE. It's also here in Visual Studio Code. At the beginning, I just thought of it as this just talks to Copilot. And I understand that the term Copilot has a broad meaning, so I'm not trying to pigeonhole it into anything. But to think that like there's a lot here that goes just beyond thinking about your code or GitHub. Now, with MCP servers and agents and extensions, because Visual Studio Code is so extensible, I can ask it to explore my Azure resources or third-party tools that are used in the enterprise, help me do something instead of me spending a lot of time stumbling around figuring out how to do it. I still feel very naive and new when I say things like that, because I think there's a whole other level of, which you've been trying to show us here, that with the test-driven development coach,
right?
That's a next level of, this isn't just about help me do a thing. This is about enforce a workflow.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it, right? What's that we need? I think we're all tipping our toes into this in various ways, but start to think about, how does this change my workflow, and what can it do to help me be a I hate to say better, but
productive, right? More productive.
There you go. That's the better term for it.
I agree with you. That's exactly it. And I think because mentally we all say like better, especially if you have, I think it's hitting harder on a more experienced generation, like a senior generation, saying like, what am I doing wrong by using this stuff? And it's like, nobody's saying you're doing anything wrong.
Right.
But we got to learn, I think we have to learn how to be effective and productive. And that's the TD coach, I think, is really interesting, because as we were using it, it was enforcing, well, let's make sure there's a failing test. It's going, oh, yeah, okay. Because I don't care how long I've been doing this. It's super easy to write a few lines of code and then say like, oh, I need to go add a unit test to this now. And that's an okay workflow. There's nothing wrong with it. Not trying to even say anything bad about it. But there is something powerful about the red-green refactor workflow of like, I have shown that this code does not do the thing. Yeah. That gives you just that little more security that now the code that I've added does solve the problem, instead of, well, I added code, let me go back and write a test. Okay, but does your test, it can become so easy to write like the tautological test that just proves you wrote code. It doesn't prove it solves the problem.
Right.
So I don't know. Interesting stuff. I know.
And just in the background, I uninstalled and reinstalled that extension, and it does want to go ahead and create the create the issue for me. So this is good.
So this was the specific extension was like the GitHub Copilot extension, or?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I'm not sure why. Seems very odd, because restarting the server, or restarting my connection to the server should have been enough.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. All right. Well, hey, here we are. Thanks for joining me on and working through this.
Yeah. No, it was just fun discussion
on our day off. We got a lot of exciting things planned. If you've made it this far in the show, I guess, and you've watched some previous shows, then you know that we've got everything from some ASP.NET Core to some monogame, and monogame, maybe not monogame, the spiritual successor to XNA. We were running on Windows last time, and maybe we'll have something fun where we're actually doing it on other platforms.
Yeah.
So that's just a hint that I've gotten some things working, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
All right.
I will just mention I've also been playing around with some WSL stuff, which is pretty cool. And
oh, okay.
We should dig into that at some point soon too.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, hey, thanks to everybody who watched us live. If you're watching us on YouTube, then I've got this. I had this already. So if you're not aware, everything's on youtube.com/The Dev Talk Show. So if you're watching in the future, you can let us know in the comments who won the Eagles game today. I guess they do have a Friday game, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm on my way there soon, not long after we get off this call. So
all right. Well, enjoy that. Have a lot of fun. And if you did watch us on LinkedIn, which I think is cool, the Dev Talk Show has a page on LinkedIn. And I really wish that it was just / the Dev Talk Show, but as best I can tell, you have to slide company in there. Because yes, we need a lot of followers, but if we get to a certain point, we can actually stream right on there. So right now we're just using my personal LinkedIn page to stream there. And it is a good audience. For folks in the US, maybe don't realize that LinkedIn streaming does really well internationally. So there's an international audience that maybe would be interesting. But cool. That's it. We're a few minutes past 9. Have a great time at the game. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Other than that, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see everybody next time on the Dev Talk Show.